In this WrestleTalk news, are WWE talent fearful of Vince's return to WWE Creative? A shocking WWE heel turn could potentially be on the horizon, and Ollie's review of last night's AEW Dynamite.
Support WrestleTalk!
Well, balls. I thought we were in the clear. I thought we were fine. It was all going so well. WrestleMania was looking so good, and it probably still is, right? Maybe? Ever since Vince's return to WWE at the beginning of the year, all of us have carried that fear within us whenever we see his name arise in the same sentence as creative. And if you've been keeping up with the haps in the graps lately, specifically yesterday's news video, you'll be aware that Vince's name was brought up alongside possibly the best wrestling story ever, the Bloodline saga. According to Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio, Vince has had input with the highly successful story. However, it's unclear how deep that goes. Oh, and Vince is also listed as the director of WrestleMania on the poster for the show, so yeah, great. Okay, I guess we can all panic again now. Not only that, but according to Fightful's Sean Ross Sapp, an unnamed WWE talent has told them that they believe that Vince McMahon is back working in creative. However, SRS could not confirm this at all. Following this, SRS confirmed that after speaking with sources in WWE who would be in a position to know, SRS was told that the talent in question's fears are unfounded. Further extinguishing the Vince creative flames was PW Torch's Wade Keller, did the Flames Torch, who tweeted, "I was told flat out today that Vince McMahon is not back involved in WWE Creative." Okay, so I guess we can breathe easy, maybe. I still don't buy it. He's never truly gone, is he? So it seems as if Triple H will be continuing to head up WWE's creative going forward into Mania. And as we've seen already, he's already had a few swerves up his sleeve when it comes to the Mania card. While we all thought we'd see Lashley versus Lesnar 4, it now seems like we'll be getting Lesnar versus Omos and Lashley against Wyatt, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but okay. And it turns out Trips may have one more surprise in store, in the form of a surprising heel turn of a much-rumored returning legend, none other than Trish Stratus. Trish's return has been highly talked about recently, specifically by the Twitter account Works Wrestling, with her return being anticipated on both of the past 2 weeks of Raw, only for it not to materialize in the end. Her absence from this week's Raw seemed especially puzzling, given the fact it took place in her home country of Canada, and would have guaranteed a big old hometown pop. Or home country pop. However, there is some speculation that this was because WWE are planning a heel turn for the Hall of Famer, but felt she wouldn't get the appropriate reaction in Canada. Trish was reportedly in Ottawa and all set to make her appearance in a segment with Lynch, Lita, and Damage Control, yet creative plans would change last minute according to Fightful, so potentially this could be what they were alluding to. It's also worth noting that Stratus spoke of her desire to return as a heel, and more specifically feud with the babyface Becky Lynch in an interview with Ring the Bell last year. As well as this, Work did state that the angle Trish was returning for was one she's wanted to do for some time. While Stratus's character status can't be confirmed, it does seem all but a certainty that she is on her way back, as Fightful Select have reported that a program involving Lynch, Stratus, and potentially other high-level stars is in the plans for Hollywood as of last week.
It's Thursday, you know what that means! Jon Moxley is going to bleed, even when you think the show's going to run out of time. Nope. He still manages it. He still manages to bleed. Everywhere. It's my review of AEW Dynamite in about 5 minutes. Orange Cassidy opened the show defending his All-Atlantic Championship against his former best friend Wheeler Yuta. Unlike most former best friends, they're the one that sleep with your girlfriend and hit you the hardest. You had Christmas dinner at my grandparents', Tommy. How could you do that? How could you rip me apart? Somehow, both men made their most contrasted of styles clashes work. Yuta would slap the spit out of Cassidy's mouth, while Orange would reply with a hug. Not just a comedy spot, but one also layered with tragedy. The excellent Phoenix crowd, who appropriately soared the whole show up a level, were in a frenzy by the end, with 2 Yuta kickouts only felled by an Orange punch. Claudio stopped Wheeler hugging Cassidy afterwards for an extra layer of character work. This was an excellent match. Ricky Starks came out to accept the fact Chris Jericho won't give him a rematch. Instead, he has an open contract for a match at Revolution, which is here for anyone hungry enough in the back to take. But who could it be? If you answered Chris Jericho, well, you'd be correct. Using some fun reverse psychology, Starks played with Jericho's pride to sign the contract while adding in a stipulation the whole JAS would be banned from ringside. It was a fun, smart babyface spot, but it also makes The last 2 months feel like a total waste of time. The Acclaimed got a big pop again, hopefully indicating the more subdued reception they got last week after losing the tag titles was a one-off. They took on the Firm in a decent TV match, with Big Bill impressing, the Guns kicking their daddy's ass, and the Acclaimed winning with a mic drop. Jungle Boy then immediately attacked Christian Cage on his way out for an interview. He set up a concerto, but those damn babyface morals made him hesitate. Christian hit a low blow and busted him open with a chair, unfortunately depriving us all of Christian's dead father or I'm going to bang your mum lines. A woman's match at the end of the first hour? What alternate universe is this? One where it's still the only segment on the show. Saraya easily dispatched Sky Blue thanks to Tony Storm's interference and an awesome looking Scorpion crosslock submission. Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker chased off the heels afterwards, and Ruby Soho cut them off at the ramp, clearly showing the three elements of the main women's division story. Hayter, later on, being a fighting champion, announced it'll be her versus Saraya versus Soho at Revolution, which Britt didn't even side-eye at. My second favourite thing on this episode, because any show that has a Jeff Jarrett win will automatically have that as the best moment now, was MJF's latest psychologically unhinged promo against Bryan Danielson. Danielson started his own in-ring promo where he appeared to be going down the MJF doesn't hate me, he fears me route, and never got to actually finish his point because a very emotional Max wanted to talk about families and concussions. According to Fightful, MJF used his real-life engagement breaking up to fuel his passionate promo on Danielson. He talked about how he's been turned on by every single person he's ever loved, a huge part of Max's character and motivation. He told a story about a girl he loved who he proposed to and said he wanted to start a family with, but she left him. At which point, a portion of the crowd inappropriately but hilariously chanted, "You deserve it!" Something kinda less funny now, you know it's based on truth. He shut them up and the occasional what chant by saying it hurt him so bad he would have downed a fistful of pills if it wasn't for his world championship. Again, so effectively putting over how much this title means to him. For MJF, this is a matter of life and death. But then, even more effectively, he compared his broken dreams to Danielson's reality. Bryan has a beautiful wife and 2 amazing children. He's also had more concussions than anyone. So every time he steps into a ring, he's prioritizing professional wrestling over his family. Max wouldn't do that if he had a family. Bryan is no better than his drug-addicted mentor, William Regal. It's just to the spotlight. Max then turned to the camera and spoke directly to Bryan's children by name. He's sending Dada back with the gift of early onset CTE, triggering a fiery pull-apart brawl. MJF's ability to find new psychological depths to what are already fully fleshed out three-dimensional feuds to zig when you think he's gonna zag are unparalleled. I really don't like the idea of 2 Battle Royal formats to decide the Revolution Tag Title 3-way match. There's not enough depth in the division. It's a bad way to tell stories, and you're doing 2 very similar matches in back-to-back weeks. That said, Jeff Jarrett won, so it's now officially better booked than a Sami Zayn and Bloodline story. The Battle Royal itself was a bit of a forgettable schmoz. Aussie Open were criminally underused, 80% of the teams in there were just filler, and there could have been way more done with the Lucha Bros and Roosh, who were so over, production had to cut the crowd chanting Zero Miedo after the preceding Hater promo. The final few minutes of Satnam saving Team TNA and their goofy comedy with the best friends were very fun though. The Guns tried to do a strangers on a train plot with them afterwards. You take care of our enemies, and we could take care of yours. The House of Black will confront the Elite on Rampage, and then we got Tony Khan's major announcement. It was probably the most hyped thing going into the show. Has he bought WWE? Is CM Punk coming back? Is the video game ever coming out? Has Bram signed a multi-year deal? Turns out AEW getting a new weekly behind-the-scenes style show called All Access, sadly not Collison, starting after Dynamite in March, which will focus a lot on Adam Cole's return to the ring. So roads to the top without Cody Rhodes, I got you. Far more excitingly, Cole announced he would have his first match back. In terms of when that actually is, it was just announced as March, so that could be any time in the next 5 weeks. And the main event saw Evil Uno put on a spirited effort against Jon Moxley to ultimately be squeezed of all his blood like a carton of orange juice. Mox had the Bulldog choke locked in on a bleeding Uno who spurted gushes of blood as Mox pulled back. It looked awesome, and I really hope it was a special effect rather than an actual artery. The Dark Order and Blackpool Combat Club ran down for a post-match brawl. Hangman Page joined, and Mox, realizing he himself hadn't bled yet, managed to bust himself open and cover his face in blood for the show's final shot. A gross but very effective visual sell of their Texas deathmatch stipulation. What did you think of Dynamite? Let me know in the comments. From the terrific opening match, the brilliant MJF promo, Jarrett winning, and a bloody main event, this was a return to form after last week's limper show. With all feuds escalating towards next Sunday's pay-per-view, this week's Dynamite is 80%. Now find out about AEW's embarrassing botch behind the scenes. In this WrestleTalk news, the real reason Triple H re-signed numerous WWE stars, why the AEW video game has been delayed, a big AEW botch, and more.